Hi, John. You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, buddy. You?
Yeah, not bad. It's Monday again. It's coming quick and fast. It's Easter. Well, second week of the Easter holidays for me, anyway. So I'm back at work this week. I'm child free, so living the dream the best I can. But
Just
other than
one
that,
big
mate,
child in yourself.
oh well, I openly admit I am.
Yeah.
I go through my fads. I'm glad you see it as well, mate. I'm glad you see it. But
Keep that inner child. Keep that inner
Oh
child.
no, definitely. So I definitely need to. But so for those of you that are watching, you probably recognise that we have David McCormack with us again, who joined us a couple of weeks ago for a very, very um, hard-hitting, informative, transparent two blokes and a phone chat, which it helped me, and I'm sure it's helped a lot of you guys and other viewers who have watched it out there. And we felt, Dave has got a lot more to share and offer, and in his journey, and I'm kind of keen to learn more about what Dave has plans for the future. And so, Dave, thank you for joining us again for. I think this is an official part two, John, isn't it? I don't think we've ever.
No, we've never got round to doing a part two, but I think it was really needed as a follow up from the first one straight away.
So, Dave, you're setting trends, mate. You're setting trends, but
as always,
no,
yeah,
good man.
not just with the shirt either.
No, to be fair, I don't mind some Columbia shirts. I think they're a bit out there, rascal. I won't be wearing sorry, Dave. I won't be wearing Scotland or Argentina, Germany. Other countries, I'd wear. I like a cheeky Brazil shirt. I wouldn't mind a Brazil.
I like my South American shirts in general. I've got quite a lot of the club ones, like the Brazilian teams and stuff, the Flamengo and stuff like that.
Is that the one with the Brazil
some
shirt?
Some of the best jerseys.
15 sponsors on it.
Yeah. No, Flamengo one actually.
Oh, Flamengo.
It's just got the badge. They've just got the badge. They're a bit like that other team from Glasgow used to be in the 90s. They never used to have a sponsor on their shirts until the early 80s.
I love that other team. You don't even want to say the name.
No,
I don't. We won't. I don't say the name.
We've only got Dave on the call for a couple of minutes. We don't want to lose him already.
No, I apologise to any fans that support that other team, but I refuse to say your name.
Yeah, well, it's I'm the same, mate. I'm John gives me a bit of banter. It's boring banter now, Dave. I've heard it a few times now. Like,
yeah,
which team am I supporting now? Before we sort of talk about football, and
he's got more teams than you've got shirts, Dave. Put it that way.
I could well believe it.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just waking up from John's banter. But no, joking aside. So for those that are watching, I first met Dave through some of our work with a previous employer a few years ago. Am I right in saying at Aston Villa, Dave? Is that right? And I was working for a local community interest company at the time called the Start Again Project, who were tasked with supporting the Aston Villa Foundation with the coordination and the running of that project. And little old me was held responsible for supporting local hostels, homeless services, drug alcohol recovery services, with supporting the Aston Villa Foundation with the recruitment, the week-long programme. And that's where I met John and obviously yourself during that week. And that was a big eye-opener, and we spoke about sliding doors moments. And for me, that was, as you know, Dave, I've been very fortunate and blessed to meet both of you, but John in particular, where we've travelled the world. I've had my eyes open to how sport, physical activity can really, really change lives. And that week in particular, I just remember sort of being really humbled and admittedly bringing down a peg or two for my own perception and mindset of people, and who have been on challenging journeys and wanting to progress and move forwards in their life. So Are you able to sort of talk to us, Dave, about sort of, I suppose, how you kind of fell into that position in football?
Yeah. Football's always obviously coming for the west of Scotland. Football is like it's been the biggest passion, and when I was younger, I was never going to be a Pele or a Messi or somebody, but I was decent enough, and even when I was in active addiction and stuff, I started off in Glasgow when I got involved with Street Soccer Scotland many years ago, and then when I moved to England, and when I got into recovery, I got the opportunity to get involved with which was then the Street FA, and it's still something that really rankles with me, and it's something I think it's important to talk. Back then, when you got picked when you went to the training centres, and I went to the Sunderland training centre, they marked scores every week, and essentially it was like the people who were the consistent high markings and stuff were the ones that got picked to go, alongside other things, and I actually got the highest marks in the training centre, and for that reason, never got picked to play for England, because at the time, and the person who was in charge then is a good close friend of mine, but he knows it's something that kind of still rankles me, because it was like, you saying that you want us to go and be this and show that we can help others, and the attitude that we've got, and I showed you all that, and because I've got that, and I was already in the middle of setting up North East Athletic, which was a recovery-based football team in Newcastle that I set up, then you picked sort of two other people to go. Anybody at any level wants to represent the country, so it was a bit of a blow, and I never got any explanation at the time. And then about a year later, when the next training centres were due to start, I got a phone call and asked if I would become a volunteer, and got involved to go down to Villa for a couple of days, but then to the Sunderland session, and then kind of got the opportunity to become team manager for a tournament in Amsterdam, and then the year later I got to go manage at the Homeless World Cup in Amsterdam, and then Glasgow, and then Norway, which was phenomenal. And it was the people that I met. I mean, I met some of my like all-time heroes. I met Ronald and Frank de Boer and Arthur Newman and Fernando Rickson in Amsterdam. And Fernando Rickson's obviously now dead. But that was phenomenal. But again, it still rankles a little bit that you show the attributes, and I think that's something that I've got in the pipeline now that I'll talk about in a minute. Is it's inspired me to do that. Is I think if we're saying to people that we want you to be able to show these attributes and stuff, then what we should really be doing is that if you show those attributes, then reward that, or then sort of give people the opportunities. Don't sort of discount somebody because they've got the attributes and maybe a little bit more than you asked them to have in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, like for me, that first week was very like mind-boggling, inquisitive. New ideas, new ways of communicating. As a coach, myself, and sort of, and for me, it was more about working with clients who obviously are service users, who have been on that journey. I often sort of wanted to know, like, because you did the week-long course, you got the kit, and you got your sports leaders level 1. Was it during that week? And then you
level
had the
1,
option,
level 1, but you could go and do the 2.
Oh, okay. And then as well as like potentially representing, and it's kind of that. Even then, that's still. I know it's preparing you for life and, applying for the course and learning soft skills and hard skills. But like you said, then that potential rejection and that could affect you differently or other people differently. And that was something that often intrigued me, because don't get me wrong, not everyone could go and play in Amsterdam, Mexico, wherever it is every other year. But
Yeah,
it's kind of offering, like you said, to at least have that sort of wow moment or factor. That's something
yeah.
that's intrigued me really. Is it's great training at the indoor academy at the Aston Villa or all the other foundations, but what are the, like you said, because if you've met the hard working attributes and you still haven't had that disclosure or closure even, that could, it's still affecting you today, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's something that
It's when you know that you achieved the highest mark possible, and you've done absolutely everything that you can, and then you kind of, and actually no, I can't understand why the other two lads that chose to go went. That's not there wasn't an explanation at the time, and I think that in grassroots sport, and especially in inclusion sport, because I think in any sport there's disappointment and there's rejection. You're playing for a football team, there's going to be, and I think if it had been on purely footballing ability, then I wouldn't have made the way that I did. I got the as far as I did, and that I could have took that if that's what it was getting picked on. If that's what you're getting told, you're getting picked on your football ability, then I'll hold my hands up and say, well, actually, I'm really, really good enough to go and compete at that level. But if you're getting told that, and if we're passing on a message to people, well, if you show you've got these attributes and you show that you're consistently the one that's consistently providing those attributes, and then I say to you, well, sorry, you're too good, then that's kind of, it's just a bit disheartening. Don't get me wrong, the opportunities that I got the year after and the years following were phenomenal. I managed England against Scotland in my home city, in front of 2,000 or 3,000 fans, playing against a lot of people. The Scotland team contained 3 people who I grew up with and was in active addiction with. When I went to Norway, I met a guy, the Scotland second choice goalkeeper, was a boy that I was in care with in children's homes 25 years earlier. So I got opportunities that were phenomenal, but I just think that the one thing that I've learned throughout the years, and I've been guilty of this as well, and when I've set up football projects and stuff, is that sometimes we take our eye off the ball, what we're actually saying to people. And I've done it, like, we set up a recovery team and we were really successful, and I forgot alongside other people why we'd set that project up in the first place, and we started allowing lads to come in who didn't really meet the criteria, and yeah, we got out like 5 cup finals, we won 2 league titles, but the fun and the joy was taken out of it, because it became about winning, and it became about what it shouldn't have been about. Because the reason I set it up was to give lads the opportunity to play 11-a-side football and become part of a team. And it ended up not being about that.
Yeah,
I think that's a common trap, isn't it, really?
I was about to say, John stole the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really interesting. I remember having lots of very similar conversations when I first sort of got involved into that circle of inclusion, football and sport, and just recognizing really that it's very, very difficult to find the balance between normal football is competitive and there are winners and there are losers, or it's all about inclusion, and how do you find that balance? And I think it's such a difficult game to play that the best ones are the ones that choose one side or the other, regardless. Yeah. They put their stall out and they say, we're all about winning and it's all about ability, and it's a meritocracy. If you're good enough, you're in, regardless which is what
Yeah.
inclusion is really ultimately. So you can't argue with that. And equally, it's, well, we want to teach people that it doesn't matter about winning because you can't win all of the time. And it's about participating and joining in and having a go at something and being brave and, you know, taking those opportunities and all the spin-off things that come from participating in a team sport. You know, obviously we talk about football, but there are other team sports, and I've been, you know, fortunate enough to go to other events, you know, across Europe that do the same with volleyball or badminton, other sports, you know, that are basically just about having a go, participating in something, and the social camaraderie and support that comes from being in that environment, really. And I think it's just a case of you have to make a decision sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
from a outsider looking in, and I'm sort of reverting it to what I heard Brendan Rodgers say on Match of the Day yesterday about the three players, you know, that he left out the squad, and one of them being Maddison, and he was saying, oh, it's about the values and the ethos, you know, and the principles of that behaviour. And for me as a coach, like that's something that I've always tried to sort of embed in my teams, and you know, when I've worked in academies. But like you were saying, Dave, I think all of us fall into that trap. I don't care what any coach, you know, I know
Yeah.
people want to develop players, but you'll always sort of in the back of your mind, like, oh, that sense of trying to win and succeed, and in, you know, winning trophies, medals, you know, that affirmation from peers and stuff like that. But I mean, so moving on then from, I mean, are you still involved with? I actually don't know what the official name for it now, because I know it's had quite a few rebrands and.
I know that. So they're not actually running England anymore. It's. I can't. I know it's on the verge of changing hands. That's all I can. That's all I can say at the moment. It's on the verge of changing hands. I've heard a few little bits and bobs, but until it's confirmed, then I'm not going to say anything. But what I hope to be involved in the future in some sort of capacity, whether that be involved with England, whether at Homeless World Cup, or whether it be at a local level, sort of helping produce and get people involved.
Yeah.
That would be sort of the key. But obviously, because of COVID, there was no Homeless World Cup last year or this year. So I think it's kind of just waiting to see what progresses.
I mean, that's don't worry, Dave. I won't be asking you or poking or prodding you for any more stuff. But I think for me, what I'm sort of really interested in is sort of how sport, physical activity has impacted not only your life and my life, but I think for me, and it's something that reminded me what John said a few weeks ago about, you know, sliding doors moments or impacting people.
Yeah.
Because when I first got involved with Streets Revolution International, I was very much more about like, how could we capture outcomes? How could we, you know, the impact of who we helped. And I remember one tournament and one of the social inclusion cups that John used to organise down in Oxford. And I thought it was one of the SR teams, and I can't recall the name of the individual, but I just remember driving down. I had an absolute Tony Blair with my car, you know, flat tire punches, and then the lad. I must have gave a decision. You know what it's like, the hardest job in the world being a ref.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, he told me to, like, fuck off, basically. And I just remembered, like, the back of my mind, like, kind of on the verge of going red. But then I remembered where I was. I had to have that sort of pause moment that, you know, like John mentioned it the other day, the crossroads, T-junction, and sort of recall that people are going through different things, and that football is an escape. It's a place of safe haven, and they're the key lessons that I've learned. You know, like regardless if you're playing with your mates or if you're playing Premier League football, you know, football can give people that escape, really.
I mean, I think something that what me and John have spoke about in the past, and I suppose going back to sort of sliding doors or wow moments is 2007. I went to Ghana for 2 weeks to help build a school where a project in Newcastle that I was employed with, and it was brilliant. And I ended up going back in 2008 and done 6 weeks football coaching in Ho, which is a city in Ghana, and then obviously Accra. And I think one of the moments where you kind of sort of see how sport can change people's lives was there. I remember them. They were playing with a normal size 5 football, but they were playing with these 2 little twigs as goals that literally you could just fit the ball through. And there was like 22 lads on the pitch, and that's how they were scoring. And the sort of technical skill, and these kids were no more than sort of 12, 13. And then, like, I went to do a coaching session at the school, and they had full size goals at the school, and I done shooting drills with them, and they couldn't hit a bomb door when it was coming to sort of the shooting drills. But when we introduced the smaller goals, everything was going in. And it was one of the moments where I was like, these guys are so talented. And a lot of them were playing barefooted and stuff as well. Came from sort of really poor backgrounds, but all played with a smile on their face. And over here, especially in inclusion football, something that I've kind of sort of struggled with is they turn up and they've got the best football boots, they've got the brand new kits, everything kind of handed to them. And for example, I'm involved with us in the league team at the minute. We've got an ex-professional boxer who's our centre half, and this guy was a British and European champion. He lets us use the gym. We put on like hot HIIT classes, yoga classes, everything that any semi-professional team would want. And we struggle to get 4 or 5 lads turning up for that. But they'll turn up to play on a Sunday. And it's like everything's handed on the plate to kids, to young adults, to whatever in this country. And then you look abroad, you've got the likes of Ghana, the most successful team in the Homeless World Cup in Mexico. And you look at the facilities that these guys have got, and even in the grassroots Sunday League football, we've got some of the best facilities and opportunities for people in Egypt, and I think it's because we come kind of spoiled. And I think being in recovery helps me in a way because I can kind of understand and appreciate. But what I've also noticed is I know a lot of lads in recovery who get them on a football pitch are an absolute nightmare. And it's because, as much as we love football, it is the most unspiritual game that you could get, in terms of it's just so competitive, and like we were saying earlier, you forget sometimes about why you enjoy it so much, and you become obsessed with winning. If a decision goes against you, somebody's an effing arsehole or whatever else, yet off the pitch, some of them show the compassion and understanding that is just that comes for somebody being in recovery, and in general comes for a lot of people as well. It's not just people in recovery, but I just use that as an example, is because it's what I know.
Yeah, I remember, David, like one of the most humbling conversations I've ever had was being fortunate enough to be in Rio for the Homeless World Cup. And that's where I first met Patrick, who then we built a long-term relationship and have got a Streets Revolution in Kenya. And he was the captain that year of the Kenyan team. And they just finished building the pitch. It had all done, and nice new grass. No one had been on it yet. And I was just, sort of taking all the sights in and leaning on the side of the pitch. Patrick came over beside me And he looked at it and he goes, "Oh, John, wow." He said, "We could sleep 40 people on that pitch."
Wow.
And it just killed me because I was looking at it going, "Oh, I'd love to play on that pitch. Imagine banging a goal in." His first thought was, you could sleep 40 people on that pitch.
Yeah.
It would be really comfortable. And it just brought me right back down to earth. That perception, those opportunities. And it's something that I know I struggled with, Dave, when I came back from visiting Ghana and Kenya and Tanzania and Uganda, all these places where they make the most of the, the facilities and opportunities that they've got, and they do it with a smile. And then you come back and you get that sense of, ungratitude towards, the facilities that are there. They take them for granted. And it's just, if it's not, pristine and on a plate, or if the weather's not right, or they haven't got the right boots or the right kit or whatever. And you just think, I've just come back from a country where, there's a 30-degree slope with divots and holes and dirt. They haven't got a crossbar, and you're moaning about this.
Yeah.
And it's something that I really, really struggled with. And I think it just comes down to expectations and what you're used to and what you believe you're entitled to. And I think it's not just within inclusion sport, to be honest. I just think, there's a whole society that we live in that has that sense of entitlement. And you can really see that in certain people that have a sense of entitlement. I'm entitled to have this. I'm entitled to have the best, regardless. And it's almost like they've forgotten.
Yeah. And I think one of the, when I look at young footballers coming through now, and I look at the people coming through the system, there's two England players that really, really impressed me with their decision making, and show that maybe things are starting to turn. And when you look at Jadon Sancho and Jude Bellingham, could have went. Sancho was at Man City getting paid really good wages to be in the under 23s. Bellingham got offered seemingly 80, 90 grand a week to go to Man United and probably sit in the reserves, but both chose to kind of go to Germany. And they went to Borussia Dortmund, they went to big clubs and stuff, but they made that decision that they were going to sort of put their careers in the progression before kind of being at the biggest clubs in Britain and stuff, and just sitting taking money. And I think, because that's what I think, listen, both boys will be on a good wage at that club, but they're not on the type of wages that they would have been at if you'd been at a City or been at a United. And I think when you look at a lot of the sort of young footballers that have came through the years, it's kind of the decisions have been made about money rather than about progressing in their career. And the most important thing is inspiring that next generation of kids. Because once one person makes, it's like anything, it's like a domino effect. Once one person kind of takes that leap of faith and shows that it can be done and it can be possible, then others follow that trend, especially youngsters. Sancho went first, and then 2 years later, Bellingham went. And if you look at the amount of other young players that are now choosing to go abroad and play, because first and foremost they're getting to play the game that they love, then that shows. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's something that we need to encourage.
Yeah, I think for me, linking it back to like social inclusion and sport for good projects, and I know for a fact I'll fall into this category where there's a lot of like immediacy. People want it now. People, like you said, that instead of sort of going straight to the, the big bucks, people have taken the developmental route. They're still playing professional football in a very good league, but sort of appreciating, the process, the different journey, because there's no doubt in my mind that both of those players that you've mentioned will go on to play for deemed bigger clubs. But linking it back to the experiences that the three of us have had, that's something I've often said to a lot of the young people that I've worked with and the service users and clients, and whatever label I suppose we can give people is trusting the process, like you said, turning up to sessions, shaking hands. Well, a time when we could do that, saying hello, tidying the playing area, saying goodbye when we left, congratulating, all these little skills that hopefully make people better people than better footballers. And that's something that I've always tried to pride myself on. Is yes, it's great hitting one in the top bin and scoring the winner, but like you said, it's like how graceful you are, and how you treat other people and how you treat people away from the pitch. That's something that definitely reminded me of the football experiences that I've had with, well, the two of you really, with the Homeless World Cup and John in our projects, far and wide.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, in terms of, so one of the things I'm involved in setting up in the minute in Liverpool, on the back of the experiences that we've all had, is 11-a-side football is competitive, whatever level that you play at. And there's a lot of opportunities within inclusion football. But even at the 11-a-side, inclusion football can be really competitive. And so I've set up, it starts on the 2nd of July, but there's a 6-team 11-a-side league on a Friday night starting, and solely for inclusion teams. And it's 2 55-minute games played, so 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock kickoffs. So like 1 week, 2 teams don't play. But I've put guidelines in, like, your squad has to be involved with services within the last 6 months, whether that be like mental health, recovery, addiction services, whatever. And they have to be able, fast on the spot, they have to be able to sort of give a contact number for a link worker to prove that. Because what I've found is that even at that level, is people just pull in ringers left, right, and centre. And you know what it's like. You turn up to a session, you can tell if somebody's got underlying issues or if somebody's been through the mill. I've turned up to sort of social inclusion sessions and seen people turning up in BMWs and that. And that's not what it's about. It's, you can be a winner without winning trophies. And I think for me that's something that I'm learning, and like
you know what, Dave? I mean, that is the biggest lesson ever. The whole reason I even got involved in inclusion in sport, really, in the beginning, was wanting to get that message across. How do you define success? And making other people understand. And when I mean other people, sometimes it's understanding even your other teammates.
Yeah.
Understanding what success for them is, the fact that they've even showed up today, the fact that they've turned up and they're not completely, out of it or high, that they've made a choice not to, for the last couple of hours, have a beer or smoke some weed. You know, that's success for people, and it's just trying to redefine. And like you say, that's something for life, really, is how do you define success? And just constantly saying, like, I remember, the best parts of being involved in inclusion sport, really, is the conversations before, during, and after. Yeah, not the sport itself. Because, like, if I asked any of our participants, well, what was the score in that particular game, unless they actually won the trophy, they don't remember. Well, what was the score in the semi-final? I don't know. We won. They don't remember the scores. So it's not really, it can't be about that. It's much more than that. And I remember, like, I used to play 11-a-side when I was sort of 12, 13. I got absolutely trounced one week, 28-1. It was honestly the best game of my life, because I scored the only goal that we scored. And then they chased us off the pitch, back into the van, and the game got abandoned because the audacity of us actually having to score a goal. But that game sticks more in the memory than probably all the other ones that we did win. Why? Because it taught me a lesson about persevering, not giving up, keep going regardless, not getting our heads down, regardless. We get, they were scoring a goal every 3 minutes,
Yeah.
and it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yet it taught me a lesson that stuck with me to this day.
It's because I'm mindful of the time, both. I think that's a great way to really end our second chat with you, Dave. And for me, what you were saying about the bigger picture, and John sort of celebrating the little wins, turning up to a session is a key achievement for many. Making that effort. But for me, it's sort of like the lessons we've learned, and the journey people are on continually. And for me, Dave, I'm speaking for myself and John, and I'm pretty confident for the many people that have watched the first chat and this one. Your resilience, your transparency, your love of trainers. I'm sure people, and your many football shirts. Very, very admirable, and it's something that, like I said, it's impacted me, and I'm sure it'll impact other people. So, on that note, and I think, John, you've thrown John's very good at this, Dave. He'll always throw a grenade in, especially when we're near the end of conversations. But I think that's something, maybe a part 3, sort of what's moving forwards and what success looks like. But for me, Dave, you are an inspiration, and thank you again for your time in joining.
Thank you.
So,
thanks, lads.
Yeah, as they say, Dave, one day at a time, innit? That's what it's about. Small rewards, one day at a time.
Yeah,
but
sometimes it's just an hour at a time, John, and that's what we need to kind of focus on.
But
indeed, mate.
On that note, one day at a time. Great message to end our chat. For those of you that have watched, like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube page. Both, thank you as always, and I'll catch you.
Cheers, lads.
Take care.
See you soon. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.